Welcome in, welcome in to a prospect breakdown. I kind of did one on Jordan Davis a little while ago. That was just more of me saying why he shouldn't be a first round prospect, which I'm still up in the air about even after his combine. But today we're going to be breaking down Mr. Drake London, who is my personal wide receiver one. Um, He's a pretty clear-cut wide receiver one, but there are two other guys in that first tier for me of wide receivers. I would say that there's about five first-round receivers, but this guy, Drake London, I would say I would be floored, especially now if he survives the top 10 or doesn't get drafted within the top 10. The Falcons pick at 7 or 8. I could see them for sure going receiver, possibly Drake London. I could see the Jets for sure. That's why I say 10, because if Drake London is there at 10 and the Jets don't take him, that would shock me. Um, there's a couple of other teams in the top 10 who I could see taking him, um, but he is from USC. He measured in at 6'4". I want to say he was listed at 6'5". When he played during college, and he weighed in at 219. His age when drafted, he's still 20 years old. He will not be able to drink once he gets that first. Actually, I guess I don't really know when they get paid, but he won't be able to drink when he's drafted. And anytime you see a player that young, especially with his background, playing basketball at USC his first year there, he hasn't been fully committed or like full time committed to football for that long at all. It basically was just this last year, and he's sort of having a meteoric meteoric I don't know, rise, a huge rise these last, really just this last year, because he was a good player before then, but he was kind of just a big slot. But this last year, before he um, broke his leg or broke his foot, I think, he had a 91.3 PFF grade and was on pace. He still almost led all of college football in contested catches, I think, and he got hurt week 8 or 9. Um, so elite PFF grade, pros, where he's going to make his money. He is a contested catch monster. He just has very, very good body control. You can tell that he played basketball from his film. He's very fluid, just a well-rounded athlete, but he knows how to use his body. Um, he has strong hands. There were, I guess it's not necessarily huge, yeah. So Akon right here, minor drop concerns. He had, I want to say, 8 drops last year, which, depending on how you measure it, he's not going to be an elite separator, so he's going to be catching balls in tight windows a lot, but he does that very, very, very well. But that is also conducive to players being closer and still being able to make a play on the ball, or at least affect him catching it. I don't think that's going to be a huge concern in the league, drops. But next, he is a good route runner for his size. And as I was saying before, he has inside-outside versatility his freshman and sophomore year. I don't even know how much he played, or the Pac-12 in general played in 2020 because of COVID, but he played mostly slot. He was just a big slot. So you didn't really get to see him work off press that much, but he was still pretty good in the slot, and obviously he could do that in the NFL. But some people are say that they have concern with him getting off press coverage and actually playing on the outside, and have him penciled in as a big slot starter in the NFL, I think he can without a doubt withstand um, the bigger, better, most of the time bigger, better corners on the outside and press coverage, because he has a good amount of reps of press in 2021 prior to his injury, and he didn't really struggle that much, especially with, like, yeah, he is a bigger target for cornerbacks to hit and just contact to kind of throw off his timing, but with how fluid he is and how strong he is as well, it's not that big of a deal to him. And I think that part of his game will translate. He'll be able to play on the inside or outside. And then this guy, I'm trying to think, like Garrett Wilson has some pretty good run after the catch. Jameson Williams, not a tackle breaker, but straight line speed. Treylon Burks, pretty good after the catch. That's kind of what he hangs his hat on. Chris Olave, not at all. But Drake London, super underrated after the catch. Guys just bounce off of him. It doesn't really make sense, but he's just so savvy with the ball in his hands. He's not going to outrun many people, if anybody, but he also doesn't really have to. The number of times that I saw, I mean, it's kind of just a intuitive thing to some guys where tackle breaking is just second nature. They don't go down on first contact. And a guy his size too, 6'4", 220, obviously it's going to be a little bit harder to bring him down, but he fights through contact, and sort of the opposite of Chris Olave. If you get your hands on Chris Olave, he's kind of willingly just going to go down. That is not the case with Drake London. Rest of the cons, straight line speed. I mean, if he would have run, it probably would have been in the 4.5s, maybe a 4.6 about. But for 6'4", 220, that's not a huge area of concern. But that's also not how he wins. So if Jameson Williams has slow 40, he wouldn't have a slow 40. But if somebody who wins with speed, like a Treylon Burks kind of, some people thought that he was going to test DK Metcalf-esque for being that really bulked up, like 6'3", 225 receiver and running in the 4.3s, and then Treylon Burks run a 4.55, he's going to drop just because you thought that speed was sort of an element to his game. That's not the case with Drake London. But it is still a con. Obviously, speed is always preferred as to not speed, but that's not what he excels at, so it's not a huge thing. And then he is coming off of a minor injury. I haven't really heard anything about his progress, but I think he's recovering fine. He should, that long ago, broken leg, he should be ready by training camp, I would think. Probably to be 100% by then as well. And then I'm just going to pull up the PFF breakdown real quick so that you guys can just peek at this. His heat map, I saw this a lot going through the PFF thing. I didn't realize how many receivers only lined up on one side, or how common that was in college. I guess sometimes that happens in the NFL, but I just feel like that's pretty rare. Obviously, he only lined up on the left side here. 8 drops, 8.3 drop rate, which isn't great, but contested catch guy, and you can tell that he has strong hands. I don't know if I saw any of the drops on his tape, but I don't think that's going to be an area of concern in the NFL, and then 22 missed tackles forced in 2021, and he did not even play the whole season. This dude is a tackle breaking machine. Deep catches 15. Contested catches, he had 19, so that's still first, and he, as I've said, did not even play the whole season. Where he wins, basketball background, you can tell. Even when he's covered, London's still likely to hold in. He's like Mike Renner says here, he's too quick for bigger corners. He is quick, he's savvy in and out of breaks, he's fluid. And then he's way too physical, just too big, too strong for smaller corners. His role, true number 1X, prototypical possession receiver, command double team on third downs and probably in the red zone. This dude is just going to be like the Chargers have Donald Parham, who's a 6'8" tight end, and they use him a lot in the red zone just because if you have an accurate quarterback who can throw it to one spot where literally only your guy can get it, that can be Drake London, just because if the ball is coming in fast and accurate up high, he can just jump a little bit or not at all, just stick his hands out and the receiver won't have time to react to jump up to go get it. Just red zone threat as well as possession receiver where he can improve speed. Yeah, that's not something he can really change, but also not a huge deal in my opinion. Physicality 10, speed 3, route running 9 out of 10. Height 6'4", 219, arm length 33 inches. That's very good for a receiver. Pretty average size hands. And PFF saying that he's going to be a 100 catch, 10 touchdown a season guy sooner rather than later. Depending 100% on where he goes, I could see it being year one. 10 touchdowns is a lot. Depends on where he goes. And like, I really like him with Zach Wilson, mainly just because I think Zach Wilson kind of needs a guy like him. But I also don't know how good Zach Wilson is going to be next year or in the future. But that is it for the Drake London prospect breakdown. I should be coming out with a good amount more of these before the draft, so keep an eye out for those. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.